Looking to save money in 2026 without living in a cardboard box? Well, you're in luck. Today, we're diving into some of the cheapest places to live in the US. Affordable, livable, and maybe a little surprising. Your wallet will thank you, even if your Instagram followers don't. Conway, Arkansas. If you've never heard of it, don't worry. Most people haven't, and that's kind of the point. Welcome to the city that manages to be both small town charming and big city affordable. A rare combination that sounds like it should be impossible, but somehow Conway pulls it off. Let's dive in. First things first, cost of living. Conway is cheap, really cheap. The average home here goes for roughly $200,000. Yes, you heard that right. In most parts of the country, that barely gets you a decent studio apartment, but here you can snag a 3-bedroom house with a backyard and maybe even a suspiciously aggressive dog included. Renters, don't worry, your wallet won't feel the pain either. Average rent for a 1-bedroom is around $750 a month. That's not a typo, $750 in a city that's actually livable. Amazing, right? You could almost believe it's a scam, but no, it's real. You're welcome. Now, what do you get for your ridiculously affordable money? Conway isn't exactly New York City, but it's not a ghost town either. It's home to 3 colleges, University of Central Arkansas, Hendrix College, and Central Baptist College. So yes, there's some brainpower in the air, and yes, occasionally you'll hear someone arguing passionately about philosophy at 2 a.m. But don't worry, most of the students are too busy cramming exams to overthrow the government, so the chaos is minimal. Let's talk neighborhoods. Conway has a mix of everything. Older neighborhoods with tree-lined streets and charming brick houses, new subdivisions that scream, "Look at me, I'm affordable and slightly sterile," and then some random pockets that are, well, let's just say they're character building. But overall, it's safe. Crime rates are lower than the national average, which is always nice when you're trying to save money but still want to, survive. Employment? Well, Conway isn't exactly Silicon Valley, but it has jobs. Major employers include the colleges I mentioned, some hospitals, and a handful of manufacturing and retail operations. The average household income is around $55,000, which isn't going to make you rich, but again, cheap living makes up for it. You can actually survive on what most people would consider a modest salary. Imagine that. People in Conway can eat, pay rent, and maybe even buy avocado toast, if they're feeling fancy. Culture and entertainment? Don't roll your eyes just yet. Conway has more than you might think. There's the downtown area with some cute local shops and restaurants, a growing art scene, and parks everywhere. You can take a stroll by Lake Conway, yes, the city actually has a lake, and pretend you're living the high life while still only spending a fraction of what you would in Denver or Austin. And the best part, no one here judges you for enjoying a quiet Friday night in. In fact, they probably think you're weird if you're trying to stay out past 10 p.m. Let's be honest, there are trade-offs. Conway won't give you glitzy nightlife or international cuisine on every corner. It's not going to make your Instagram followers jealous, but what it will give you is space, affordability, and a community that's quietly content. And in 2026, that might be exactly what you're looking for, especially if your bank account has been screaming at you for years. Transportation is simple too. Most people drive, but traffic is minimal, gas is cheap, and parking is never a nightmare. Want public transit? Good luck. But hey, if you've been using Uber to go 2 blocks in New York City, this is probably a welcome change. And let's talk future potential. Conway is growing steadily. New businesses are popping up, the population is increasing slowly, and the city maintains a balance between development and small-town charm. You could move here in 2026 and in a few years tell people you got in before it got cool. Or, before it becomes the next hotbed for hipsters who confuse affordable with quaint. Either way, you're ahead of the game. So why Conway? Because you want cheap, safe, and livable. You want a place where your money actually stretches, where your neighbors are more likely to nod politely than honk aggressively, and where you can have a backyard without taking out a second mortgage. Conway isn't glamorous, it's not flashy, but it works. And sometimes in 2026, works is exactly what you need. So if you're thinking of packing up your life and moving somewhere that won't bankrupt you instantly, give Conway a look. Affordable housing, low crime, decent jobs, and yes, a lake. Conway, Arkansas. Cheap, charming, and maybe the most sensible choice you'll make this year. Welcome to your new budget-friendly reality.
Ah, Pueblo, Colorado. The city that says, yes, I'm in Colorado, but no, you won't need a second mortgage to live here. Welcome to a place where the Rocky Mountains are visible in the distance, the sun shines more than 300 days a year, and your wallet actually breathes again. Let's take a closer look at why Pueblo has earned its reputation as one of the cheapest places to live in the Centennial State. First, the numbers. Housing in Pueblo is ridiculously affordable compared to Denver, Boulder, or even Colorado Springs. The median home price hovers around $300,000. Yes, $300,000 in Colorado. That would barely get you a studio apartment in Denver. And yet here you can get a full house with a yard, maybe even a garage for that old car you pretend you're fixing. Renting? One-bedroom apartments average around $900 a month. Not glamorous, but far from soul-crushingly expensive. And let's face it, when your rent doesn't give you a panic attack every month, life suddenly feels a little more manageable. Now, before you start thinking Pueblo is some suburban utopia, let's talk reality. Pueblo has a rich industrial history, steel mills, manufacturing, and a working-class vibe that gives the city character. But with that comes some of the quirks you'd expect. Some neighborhoods are incredibly charming with historic brick buildings and tree-lined streets, while others, let's just say they provide plenty of stories for local true crime podcasts. But overall, crime is moderate, not catastrophic, and it's nothing compared to what you'd face in Denver's hip districts. Employment opportunities are solid but not spectacular. Pueblo has healthcare, education, manufacturing, and government jobs. Wages aren't going to make you a millionaire overnight, but when your rent is low, that matters less. The average household income sits around $55,000, enough to get by comfortably here, especially if you're not intent on eating avocado toast every day or buying organic kombucha by the gallon. Culture and entertainment? Don't roll your eyes just yet. Pueblo may not have the fancy, overpriced nightlife of Denver, but it has its own charm. There's the historic Arkansas Riverwalk, which is kind of like a mini Venice, minus gondolas and overpriced gelato. There are local breweries, art galleries, and a surprisingly lively music scene. And every September, the Chile and Frijoles Festival reminds you that Pueblo knows how to celebrate life and spice up your taste buds at the same time. Not to mention, the city's architecture has a Spanish-Mexican flair that adds color and personality to what could be otherwise, well, a very practical, affordable city. Let's talk outdoor activities, because Colorado, right? Pueblo is perfectly located for weekend adventures. The Rockies are just a short drive away for hiking, skiing, or staring at peaks you can't afford to live on. There's also Lake Pueblo State Park for boating, fishing, and pretending you're outdoorsy. And the great thing, you don't need to sell your kidney to pay for a single day of fun. Affordable housing plus outdoor recreation, basically a financial miracle. Transportation is easy too. Traffic, minimal. Parking, everywhere. Public transit? Well, let's just say you won't need it unless you enjoy wandering the city aimlessly. Most residents drive, and that's fine because Pueblo is flat enough for casual biking and walking in some areas, but mostly your car will be your best friend. And the gas is cheap compared to the Front Range cities, so go ahead and plan that weekend trip to Colorado Springs, or Denver, or anywhere else you like without crying at the pump. Now, let's be brutally honest. Pueblo isn't perfect. Some areas are struggling with poverty, and economic recovery has been slow compared to other parts of Colorado. There are empty storefronts here and there, and yes, the city lacks the glittering cosmopolitan vibe of its northern neighbors. But here's the thing, you moved here for affordability, right? You wanted a city that doesn't eat your bank account alive. Pueblo delivers on that promise better than almost anywhere else in the state. Schools? There are good options, though it depends on the neighborhood. And with the Colorado State University Pueblo campus right in town, there's a constant flow of students, which adds energy and keeps the local economy moving. It's also worth mentioning that Pueblo's diverse population gives the city a cultural richness you might not expect at first glance. Food, festivals, and community events bring life to the city, making it much more than just a cheap place to live. Finally, let's talk growth potential. Pueblo is quietly growing. Developers are starting to notice and new businesses are opening up without turning the city into a gentrified nightmare. You could move here in 2026 and in 5 or 10 years, tell people you got in early, all while enjoying the fact that your rent hasn't doubled and your quality of life hasn't evaporated. It's a city that rewards patience, practicality, and a healthy dose of realism.
So why consider Pueblo? Because it's affordable, practical, and actually livable. It offers sunshine, culture, outdoor activities, and a place to actually keep your hard-earned money. Sure, it won't make your Instagram followers jealous, and it won't be the backdrop for your next influencer photo shoot, but if you're looking to live in Colorado without going broke, Pueblo is the city you probably didn't know you needed. Pueblo, Colorado. Affordable housing, a bit of charm, a lot of sun, and a surprisingly livable lifestyle. It may not scream luxury, but in 2026, sensible living might just be the ultimate luxury. So pack your bags, bring your common sense, and maybe a lawn chair, because you're about to discover that cheap can be actually good.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. The city that doesn't try to be cool, glamorous, or remotely flashy, and somehow that's exactly why it works. Welcome to a place where your money goes further than you thought possible, your neighbors are tolerable, and traffic jams are more of a mythical concept than a daily reality. If you're looking for the cheapest city in Indiana where life still works, you found it. Let's start with housing, because that's probably why you're here. Fort Wayne is astonishingly affordable. The median home price sits around $180,000. Yes, you heard that right. In a city that actually has jobs, restaurants, and things to do, you can buy a real house for less than the cost of a modest condo in Chicago. Renters? Don't worry, your wallet is safe here too. A one-bedroom apartment averages around $700 per month. That's not a typo. $700. If that doesn't make you reconsider your life choices, nothing will. Honestly, living in Fort Wayne is like stumbling into a financial loophole no one warned you about. Now, what do you get for your dollar besides a roof over your head? Quite a bit, actually. Fort Wayne is Indiana's second largest city, so it has the amenities of a mid-sized city without the headaches of big city living. Restaurants, bars, coffee shops, shopping malls, yes, they exist, and the city has a surprisingly vibrant cultural scene. There's the Fort Wayne Museum of Art, the Embassy Theater, and a growing craft beer scene that is suddenly very important if you're under 35 and slightly pretentious. For a city where your housing costs are so low, you'd expect a cultural desert, but nope, there's actual stuff happening here. Employment is adequate. The economy is fairly diverse for a Midwestern city. Healthcare is a major employer, along with education, manufacturing, and logistics. The average household income is around $60,000. Decent, not amazing, but paired with the cost of living, it feels like a small miracle. You can survive comfortably without cutting coupons for the rest of your life or taking up professional dumpster diving. If financial sanity is a superpower, Fort Wayne gives it to you on a silver platter. Safety? Fort Wayne is average. Crime exists, as it does in any city, but it's manageable. Certain neighborhoods are definitely better than others, so a little research goes a long way. Overall, though, it's a city where you can live without looking over your shoulder every 2 minutes. That's a perk worth its weight in gold, especially when your rent is basically a fraction of what it would be in Chicago or Indianapolis. Let's talk lifestyle, because this is where Fort Wayne shines in subtle, unassuming ways. There are parks everywhere, Frank Park, Foster Park, and the Fort Wayne Trails system, which makes the city feel surprisingly outdoorsy. The city hosts festivals throughout the year, Three Rivers Festival, Johnny Appleseed Festival, not to mention random events that sound way more fun than they probably are. And if you like sports, Fort Wayne has minor league baseball, hockey, and yes, even a semi-serious soccer team. Not glamorous, but fun, affordable, and local, a rare combination. Food? Surprisingly good. Fort Wayne has a mix of classic Midwestern diners, international cuisine, and a budding foodie scene. And the best part, you won't pay a fortune for it. Dining out doesn't require selling a kidney or hosting a GoFundMe for your lunch. For a city where everything else is so affordable, even the casual indulgences don't make your budget cry. Transportation is easy too. Most people drive because the city is sprawling enough that walking everywhere is ambitious. But traffic is minimal, gas is cheap, and parking is always available. Public transportation exists, but let's be real. If you live here, your car is your best friend. And that's fine, because Fort Wayne's roads are easy to navigate, unlike the nightmare that is Chicago or Detroit. Education is solid. Fort Wayne has multiple public and private schools, plus Ivy Tech Community College and Purdue Fort Wayne for higher education. So if you have kids or plan to go back to school as an adult, opportunities are here without bankrupting your family. Combine that with affordable housing and a moderate cost of living, and suddenly Fort Wayne looks less like Indiana and more like a financial superhero in disguise. Finally, growth potential. Fort Wayne isn't booming like Austin or Denver, but it's stable, growing steadily, and quietly improving. Developers are noticing, but gentrification isn't eating the city alive yet. You could move here in 2026 and in 5 or 10 years look back and say, I got in before it got too trendy. And the best part, your rent probably hasn't doubled, your quality of life hasn't tanked, and you still have money left over to do the things you enjoy, like sipping a local IPA on your porch and laughing at people who paid double for a one-bedroom in Chicago. So why Fort Wayne? Because it's affordable, functional, and surprisingly livable. You get space, jobs, parks, culture, and a little Midwest charm all in one package. It's not glamorous, it won't impress your Instagram followers, but in 2026, sensible living might just be the ultimate flex, and Fort Wayne delivers that in spades. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Cheap, practical, surprisingly fun, and just weird enough to keep things interesting. It may not scream excitement, but it whispers financial sanity, and sometimes that's exactly what you need.